Member for Pascoe Vale.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. I rise to speak in support of the Education and Training Reform Amendment Early Childhood Employment Powers Bill of 2024. In my inaugural speech to Parliament, Acting Speaker, which was just over a year ago now, I spoke about the ongoing commitment of the Victorian Labor Government and my pledge as the local member for Pascoe Vale, Coburg and Brunswick West to work and continue lifting and improving access and outcomes for local children through early childhood education centres. And that is why I really am so proud to be part of an Allan Labor government whose very first priority and task was to assemble a refreshed whole-of-government approach to supporting children and families through the creation of a new Ministry for Children's portfolio. And this refreshed approach places children's wellbeing, welfare and future life chances at the very heart of government decision-making and seeks to bring together the Victorian Labor government's nation-leading investments and reforms under a central coordinating portfolio, which since 2014 has included, of course, quite a number of measures. We've invested $14 billion to expand kindergarten programs across the state under Best Start, Best Life. We've invested to upgrade local kinders, including in my community of Merri-bek, and worked to establish 50 government-owned and operated early childhood learning centres to address childcare shortages in areas of need across the state, including in Moomba Park in Fawkner, just north of my electorate in the member for Broadmeadows seat. And where possible, we're seeking to co-locate new learning centres with schools to avoid the dreaded double drop-off for parents. We've also been, of course, rolling out the game-changing $270 million free kinder initiative, which is now available to all 3 and 4-year-olds participating in eligible funded kinder programs. And this groundbreaking initiative is providing a 15-hour per week program for 4-year-old children and a minimum 5-hour per week program for 3-year-old children who are attending participating kinders. And along with the educational, social and wellbeing dividends that free kinder is providing for 3 and 4-year-olds across the state, it's also playing a major role, as we know, in alleviating cost of living pressures for families. Free kinder is providing parents, carers and families up to $2,500 in fees off per child per year, providing much needed relief for household budgets during this time. Free kinder is also acting as a women's economic reform initiative, particularly young mums, by encouraging women to re-enter the workforce through increased provision of early childhood education. And I'll touch on some local organisations that were trailblazers, in fact, in this space quite soon. But Acting Speaker, as we continue to lead the nation in early childhood education and care, we will also establish pre-prep over the coming decade, which will be a new universal 30-hour-a-week program, play-based program for 4-year-old children. These are all vitally important initiatives which will help play key roles in setting the foundations for a better life for young children. However, all these reforms would not be possible, of course, without our diligent, hard-working early childhood and kinder educators and workers, which this bill is all about today. In Merri-bek, I've got 10,378 residents, Acting Speaker. That's 11.7% of our municipality's workers are actually employed in the educational training sector, and many of those, a significant portion of those, are employed as local childhood early educators and daycare workers. And this bill, of course, will be of interest to a lot of them and hopefully more future teachers that we're seeking to attract, of course. The bill will provide the state with the necessary legislative powers to operate government-owned early learning centres in Victoria, including, as I said, Moomba Park in Fawkner, just north of my electorate, whose catchment would be of interest and support people to the north of my electoral boundary. And of course, the early childhood professionals who will teach, care and manage operations in these centres will be critical to their success. We know the biggest influence on quality early learning is our workforce, and our valued early childhood teachers, educators and education leaders. These professionals really do hold some of the most important and sensitive jobs when it comes to Victoria's future. That is why the model for their employment in government early learning centres is so important. This bill will enable the creation of a new Victorian government-employed early childhood workforce. And the bill specifically seeks to do a number of things, including empowering the Secretary of the Department of Education to employ staff at government and early learning centres to deliver the support and learning programs they need. It will enable fees to be fixed and charged to parents of children enrolled at government early learning centres, and it will also enable the Minister to make orders setting out the fees to be paid for attendance at government early learning centres and the employment conditions for the government early learning centres workforce. The bill also does establish a modern, broad and employment power for the Secretary to employ persons across centres through a number of other measures that pertain to their employment, contract and ongoing management. And Speaker, the bill of course builds on the government's ongoing investments and commitments to continue supporting and growing the early childhood workforce. As set out of course in the Victorian Government's kinder workforce strategy, we have a dedicated strategy to attract and sustain the kinder workforce, unlike those opposite are accusing us of. which is striving to strengthen the existing workforce and attract those new educators by working collectively with employers, unions, training organisations and local communities. And some of the key initiatives through this strategy have included $370 million being invested to attract high-quality teachers and educators to the sector and to support existing professionals. And since then, we've attracted more than 4,000 new teachers or new people enrolled in scholarships who've joined the kinder workforce through government-funded scholarships since October 2018. 1,700 educators are also currently being supported to upskill. And we're continuing to work, of course, to do more. We have to do more in this space too. We're expanding high-quality pathways to the sector through free TAFE courses, including the Certificate 3 in Early Childhood Education. We're supporting educators to upskill. We're supporting leadership to improve workforce wellbeing. We're focusing on training quality throughout the duration of one's career. And we're trying to shift perceptions as well about a career in early childhood, including through the campaigns such as Big Roles in Little Lives. And of course, finally, we're strengthening sector partnerships to improve place-based workforce strategies and innovation. And it's this last point I would like to turn to, Acting Speaker, in the context of the local organisations in my community who've long been doing tremendous work in leading the way and being trailblazers, like I said, when it comes to growing early childhood as a sector and its workforce. Acting Speaker, VICSEG New Futures is a not-for-profit community organisation that was first started to support newly and recently settled migrants in 1981. In developing and implementing a range of programs over those years to provide direct support, assistance, advice and training to culturally and linguistically diverse communities living across the northern and western suburbs of Melbourne, VICSEG has gone on to successfully establish itself as an extremely successful registered training organisation that has delivered outstanding learning and employment pathway outcomes for migrant communities, particularly in the early childhood space. With VICSEG's New Futures head office and key training campuses situated on Munro Street in the heart of central Coburg in my electorate, VICSEG's campuses and services now also extend to Braybrook, Epping, Craigieburn, Werribee, all of which collectively train over 3,000 students annually. In doing so, VICSEG also operate 4 early learning centres for students to leave their children while they train and to learn in, along with running 25 multicultural playgroups. VICSEG's completion rate for training are well above the Victorian average for all community programs and continue to remain very high in demand, with several of their programs having significant waiting lists. With a strong staff base, which now number 170 hard-working, diligent, committed staff, VICSEG is genuinely a one-of-a-kind leading organisation that is absolutely dedicated to supporting newly arrived CALD communities through the provision of learning pathways, which are predominantly for women, and supported by access to early childhood services so they can learn to ascertain the skills and qualifications they need to build a new future for their families here in Australia. I had the absolute pleasure of attending a VICSEG graduation ceremony on the 23rd of November 2023 to celebrate the latest batch of multicultural women who successfully graduated and will go on to work in health, aged care, disability support and early childhood roles, all of whom came from non-English speaking backgrounds and many of whom arrived here as either refugees and asylum seekers. It was a very emotional ceremony indeed, Speaker. I commend VICSEG Executive Director Marie Rafters, General Manager Casper Zika and all of the 170 staff and thousands of students for their work that they do to support and contribute towards growing the sector. But Speaker, prior to VICSEG, we had the Anscrow Kindergarten and Childcare Centre. Situated at 45 to 47 May Street in Coburg, the centre was founded by its namesake, Anscrow, who was actually my first Italian teacher at Coburg West Primary School as well. In the mid-1970s, Anne Scrow co-founded the Women's Group of Italian Migrant Workers for their families. Anne has volunteered with the Union of Australian Women, joining in a campaign for women's equality. More recently, Anne, of course, served as a member on the Ministerial Advisory Council for Senior Victorians. And the Anne Scrow's Children's Centre was created through the efforts of women of the Women's Group who value the ability for local working women to be given access to a trusted local childcare. What is so special about the centre is that the Anne Scrow Child Centre was Victoria's first work-related whole-day child care centre that involved workers, unions, community and government. Key to the original goals of the centre was to establish a work-related, reliable childcare resource for women, many of whom did work in the surrounding then textile factories and millineries. For the women working in the manufacturing precinct of North Coburg, many of whom were Italian migrants, childcare was a much-needed service for the community. Many women could not rely on traditional family networks to the caretaker roles during their working day because many of their extended family hadn't migrated out at the time. The centre provided a crucial link and was opened in 1985, and Anne has done an absolutely tremendous job to this very day to support those opportunities. And Speaker, I'd like to conclude and commend this bill to the House just to touch on the record $10.7 million that our government has invested into upgrading up to 11 local kinders across Merri-bek to create 329 new kinder places. 329 new kinder places, a record expansion of kinder places to support our growing population of young families and parents who are moving to the area. In that context, I genuinely commend the bill to the House and look forward to its implementation over coming months.